At a Foreign Relations Committee hearing on December 2nd, Tarun Chhabra, head of national security policy at Anthropic, lays out what the U.S. must do to stay ahead of China in the AI race.
We all talk about the importance of winning the AI race, but I think I'd like to just put a finer point on the stakes here. Mr. Chhabra, your company Anthropic has recently put out a vivid case study of how China might well use AI models against us. Could you give us a little more detail about what it would look like to be in a world where China has won the AI race, how that affects their military and economic capabilities, and how they would use that against us, briefly?
Yes, Senator. In September of this year, Anthropic detected and disrupted an effort by Chinese state-affiliated actors to commit what we believe was the first documented case of an AI-orchestrated cyber espionage case in which 80 to 90% of the attack was conducted autonomously, including the intrusion, the efforts to exfiltrate data, so on and so forth. We believe there are about 30 targets that were impacted around the world. We, of course, we could disrupt it, inform the affected parties, engage the U.S. government, obviously, on it. And we're doing more to step up our own detection going forward. But unfortunately, I think we have to expect a lot more of this going forward, cyber attacks at scale. And so what it tells us is we need to invest a lot more in cyber defense. We need to make sure we have better models conducting defense, and we need to empower our government, particularly the military, with better models for cyber offense as well. We need to get the word out. It took us around 15 years to come to terms with how the internet was changing cybersecurity globally. We cannot afford that again. And it goes back to the question we were discussing earlier, which is we just need to have more powerful models, both for offense and defense, because we don't want to live in a world in which the CCP has better models to commit attacks like this.
I believe are prepared to speak about what the United States can do to expedite our ability to build manufacturing facilities here in the United States. I know, we're like Europe, who woke up one day after Putin invaded Ukraine and said, "Oh my gosh, we're almost entirely dependent on Russian energy." And of course, it takes a while to change that. Same thing, I think, applies here to advanced semiconductor manufacturing, where we were almost wholly dependent on Asia. But what can we do, or do you have any recommendations? I'd invite the whole panel to expedite the building of these manufacturing facilities which allow us to compete and win the AI race here in America.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, we believe that the U.S. AI sector alone is going to require around 50 gigawatts of energy, of electricity capacity by 2028. I see Senator McCormick, who hosted an energy summit to talk about this subject. So we strongly support what the Trump administration has laid out in their AI action plan with respect to energy. That means addressing regulatory hurdles. It means supply chain constraints so we can build more of the supply chain here in America. There's a lot we can do, for example, on federal land. There's more we can do to ease some of the NEPA permitting requirements. Again, on federal land, we can clarify the scope of some of the agencies' NEPA reviews to make those go faster. We think we can build in America. Anthropic just announced a few weeks ago a $50 billion investment in Texas and New York initially. We'll be building more data centers, but we're going to need permitting reforms like this to make that happen.
The reason we're supposed to win this race is because of our values and our priorities. It's not obvious to me that the private sector actors here are yet aligned with our values and our priorities.
Senator, our view is that AI is too transformational a technology not to be governed by our democratic processes and values. We think it's absolutely essential that the federal government in particular take action to ensure that at a minimum AI labs are being as transparent as possible about their models, about how we are trying to align them to ensure that they're safe.
And who they work with.
And who they work with, and that we're promoting democratic values.
The U.S. and a few key allies like the Netherlands and Japan together control the production of semiconductor manufacturing equipment, SMEs that we were talking about before. The Dutch company ASML is the sole producer of the extreme ultraviolet EUV lithography machines that are needed to make the most advanced chips. Currently, the U.S. and our allies apply some countrywide export controls on SMEs to communist China, but only on the most cutting-edge technologies like EUVs. This has succeeded in denying Beijing the capability of producing chips at the 5 nanometer level or below. However, ASML's less advanced but still highly capable deep ultraviolet DUV lithography machines are still being sold. Communist China is stockpiling these DUVs, which form the backbone of Beijing's efforts to produce cutting-edge as well as legacy chips. Mr. Chhabra, what steps should the U.S. take in coordination with Japan and the Netherlands to prevent Communist China from continuing to acquire the equipment it needs to be fully independent, be a fully independent semiconductor manufacturer?
Senator, I think we could take action to ensure that more tools are withheld countrywide from China.
Does that include the DUVs?
That does, Senator. We could take action to ensure that all advanced fabs are restricted in China. We could ensure that subsidiaries of various companies that have no constraints today are upheld. And then there's just simply the routine maintenance that's required for export controls. That means playing the cat and mouse game that's inevitable every year, and so you have to allow regular updates to happen as well. But I think more countrywide updates, also not being shy about using the foreign direct product rule as well is absolutely critical.
Could you explain exactly what you mean and why it's so critical to be the first mover to achieve frontier AI? And can you explain recursive self-improvement and its relevance?
Thanks, Senator. So, Senator, I think the first element of this is just raw capability. We want more powerful models than China. We talked about the cyber case. We want better models for cyber defense, for cyber offense. We want better models to power scientific research. We have always relied on our innovation to power higher economic growth and to power more powerful military systems. So staying on the frontier is about raw capability. With respect to recursion, what that refers to is that frontier labs are increasingly using our AI to improve our AI systems. This is not speculative. We see that today. Anthropic today is now hiring engineers who are, in some sense, more managers than they would have been a few years ago because they are managers of AI agents. And so this is already a reality, and we expect to see even more of that. And what that could mean, and the timelines I want to say are not clear. It could take a bit longer, but in the next year or two, we could see efforts to really kind of close the loop where the AI can recursively self-improve itself with less and less human intervention. And what that could mean is a lead that begins with 6 months could really be extended rather rapidly. And so it's absolutely essential that we stay at the frontier for that reason.
It's been argued that AGI will lead to explosive economic growth and scientific discovery. Beijing, perhaps out of necessity due to limitations with computing power, has instead focused on rapid diffusion and integration of AI across the whole of its industrial sector. For instance, Communist China operates more than 2 million robots powered or augmented by small-scale AI applications. Notably, these applications don't require the immense training, compute, or inference infrastructure of Western chatbots. I'm actually going to ask all of you to comment on this. We'll start with you, Dr. Miller. Is AGI the correct outcome to pursue in terms of our strategic competition with Communist China? And then when we're thinking about this, are there milestones we should be looking at to determine whether or not who's ahead in this AI race, assuming that we're going after completely different goals?
Thanks, Senator. I think you put your finger on it when you said out of necessity. So I have every confidence that China would be pursuing the AI frontier right with us if they had access to the computing power that they want, but they don't today. And we as a company see efforts by Chinese companies to do what's called distillation, is to try to really extract sensitive IP from our models to try to catch up, given the lack of compute that they have. So there is every bit the same interest in achieving the frontier. Now, I very much agree with this, the challenge of physical AI, which is we need to make sure we're preparing our manufacturing base, in particular our defense industrial base, to take advantage of very powerful AI capabilities as they come online, because otherwise China will be able to rely on what is currently a much larger defense base. And I think that's actually very crucial to maintain deterrence in the future.
For more congressional news, stay tuned to Congress Clips, and thanks for watching.